Right, good afternoon. It's 1:45, so let's make a start. We have 15 minutes, so without further ado, let us crack on. So, my name is Paul Wright. I am a primary computing teacher in two schools in Kingston upon Hull, up in the northeast, and I'm currently also working part-time for j2e5 as an education consultant. This week's topic is all about creative drawing with j2e5. And also with me today is Alistair from j2e. He will be manning the chat line. So if you have any questions as the webinar is progressing, if you could direct them to Alistair, and he will either answer them as we go or save them for the Q&A session at the end. Right, this is the plan for the next 15 minutes. I will go through all of these. The drawing tools, have a look at the differences between that and object-based and paint-based, and just give you some ideas, and then we'll have a look at some examples that you can take and adapt. So, if you're newish to j2e5, how do you get there? And the answer is, once you've logged on to your dashboard, then you have that option of going there, or you have the large red tile, the j2e tile. Mine just happens to be there. Your tile might be in a different position on your dashboard, but it will be there. Okay, so. And then once you've gone into j2e, you'll get a blank page. And these are the menu options if you haven't seen them. We are focusing today on the shape tools and the drawing tools. So anything from the pencil down. So, without further ado, I will start up with the difference. I've just opened a j2e5, a paint package that's also part of the j2e toolkit. And if you put an ant down, or any other mini beast, or draw your own line, if you make a mistake, you've pretty much got to rub it out, or paint over it, or erase it. So you can't pick that ant up and put it somewhere else. You've got to go back. We're going to have a look at j2e and how the drawing tools differ from that. So I don't need to save the changes there. So let's go and find a j2e blank page. And we'll start with a little design activity using the shape tools. So here we go. They are accessible. There is the button. I'm going to choose this one. And you see, I'm just holding the mouse button down, dragging it out. If you're on a tablet, keep your finger down. When I click on it, I can resize it by just dragging out, holding the mouse button down and dragging out. And quite a few of the shapes, most of them have this pink slider. And if you just drag the slider around, you'll alter the shape. So I'm going to have it something like that. Pop it up there. Let's have a look at a fill option. So we can click up here and color it in red. And obviously the outline I can have in black if I choose. Okay, so that's fine. And if I want that shape again, the chances of me drawing it the same size are slim to remote. So I need to duplicate it with this plus button. I'm just going to drag it out and align it. You can also use the keys to line it up accurately. That's fine. So now I'll click on fill, color it in yellow, and there we go. Now, I don't want to repeat that process, so let's turn our attention to grouping, which is a very useful feature. And again, if I do the object-based, just to reinforce, I can pick that up and move it around, which I couldn't do in a paint program. So I'm going to hold the mouse button down and lasso those two shapes. And then I'm going to group them together. And they will now behave as one. And now I can go back to my plus button. I can come down here. And this will allow me to spin it. Oops, there we go. Well, I'm not going to worry about being too accurate for today in the interest of time, but I can just spin it around a bit more. And then I've got, I don't think William Morris is going to worry, and I can of course lasso and duplicate out again. So I've got a sort of a repeating design. Now that's fine, but I've got a lot of white space. So I'm just going to bin those and come back and show you a little enhancement that we can do with that. So I'm going to click on shapes. I'm going to come back to the same one, more or less where it was before, something like that. Click on fill, fill it in red. But now I'm going to go back to the shapes tool, get the same shape, but now I'm going to click this slider and I'm going to slide it out so we've got a square and just tweak the size of it so that it fits nicely over the top. There we go. And I'm going to select my second shape and fill that in a different color. So I think I'll go for yellow. Now you'll notice I've lost my original shape, and that's because we've actually got one object on top of the other. So what I need to do is to come down here in the layers tool. Okay, there it is, still behind. So it's one on top of the other. I need to swap the order of those round, and I'm going to do that by clicking there. And again, now I will lasso them. I will group them. And I can duplicate it. And again, lasso and duplicate. So I can do Christmas wrapping paper, wallpaper. You know, that is the process. So that is how we can go from taking a smart shape and just manipulating it with just a simple fill. As you can see there, there's a different one. And if you get a purple button, a bonus, you can again change the shape. Okay, so I'm now going to just delete those. Just going to highlight them, and drop them into the bin. Oops, highlight them and drop them into the bin. And now we're going to focus on the drawing tools over here for a few minutes. So this is a freehand drawing tool. You come round back to the start, and again I can click, move it round. Again, emphasizing, you know, this is what makes it an object-based package. Each thing I put on the page is its own entity. You can do that one. This is just a straight line tool. Well, if you're making worksheets for children, you can select it again and have arrows, which is possibly handy for you. Just delete that. I have rectangle and ellipses to choose from, and a circle tool. I missed out the square. There we go, square. If I want to change the keep the rectangle in proportion, if I tick strong aspect, it will make sure that the sides and the lengths keep the same proportions, if that's of use to you. So let me just clear my page because I'm getting untidy again. So with this, these are the tools that I think are probably most fun and more interesting. The shape tool. I'm going to click, start a line, click again, draw a line, start again, and click. And I'm just going to do some abstract design. And then when I get back to the start, if I double click, then j2e will fill that shape in. And then, okay. Now you'll see these little red squares. Every time I've clicked, it's put one of those down, and they're called nodes. And I can grab hold of a node and I can move it around, do that with it. Okay, so I can do that one. This tool behaves in a very similar fashion, only instead of giving me straight lines, it gives me curved lines. And the more you click, the more nodes that you have. Back up to the select tool, so I can change that. And occasionally you'll get blue ones as well to fine tuning. But so it does allow you to not only draw a unique shape, but then to come back and change it. The smart shapes also let you fill in. So let's go and get a circle. So whether you've used the drawing tools or the smart shapes, you will have various fill options. So click fill, I can click it in and fill it in a plain color. And if I choose to, I can remove the outline or have the outline in a different color, and that's absolutely fine. But the fun stuff really starts when we start to put gradients in. Now you can see here at the moment, I've just clicked on a gradient fill and I'm going from red to blue. I can click here and go from blue to green, which is quite garish. This arrow here will just, well, you can see what it's doing. It's changed the way around. This one will change the start point. I can drag it out and go more blue than green all the way across. Okay, so that's just a very simple gradient fill. The cyclic or cyclic will do this effect. So all I'm doing is dragging, making that arrow shorter. I can bring it back to the middle. You know, it really is a great one for tinkering and trial and error, because it doesn't really matter if you make a mistake. Okay, that's the cyclic. If I turn that off and put radial on, then we get a dot that again I can pick up and move around. I can change the width, the diameter of that, and move it around. And if I put them both on, then I can hypnotize the world. So I can do that. I think if I went across and put them in stripes, I could probably get a decent football kick. So they are the basics of how those tools operate. So all you need to remember to do is to click on, choose your fill or your gradient if appropriate, and there we are. So I'm going to come back now. I don't think I need to save that, so I'll just lose that file. I'm back, and we'll have a look at some examples because we are getting some way down the presentation. This is one, the Tour de Yorkshire came past our school, so we parked the children into a bus, and as part of that we had the cycle vest challenge, so it was do that. You can see here using the tools, little chat, and I'll show you how I made that template. There's a little bit of work to do to make that. So I need to go to a blank j2e5 page, and I found online, oops, a picture of a cycle vest. There it is. I'm just going to drag that. Now you can't just pop that onto a j2e5 page and use it. You have to use the drawing tools. And this is what you would do. I will come back. I'll pick up that drawing tool. I'll do this quite quickly. I'm just going to go around the outside. So you will need to go around that, and whether it be a football top, a cycling vest, duffel coat, it matters not. You need to just draw around the outline. Double click. And then once you've done that, lose the original and resize that. And I'll save it. I'll call it vest. And then once it's saved, I would then share that with the class. So I will click here. I'll click out, I'll share that with whatever class I wanted to, and they would then pick it up from shared files. So that's a little bit of work to do before you actually can do that cycling activity. Won't save that one. So here are a couple of children's examples. Joseph used the drawing tools to make his own logo, and then went off and searched for the Nike logo and popped that onto his shirt. So, you know, he's used, as you can see, he's used gradient fills and a line. So he's done that one. Rebecca, as we can see, is heavily influenced by Disney. Again, logos pulled in off the internet. This is just a text box, and then she's used the drawing tools here to make her Minnie Mouse style logo. And the class teacher was learning alongside us, so there she goes. So just 3 examples there. This is one we did a while ago. I gave the children the template of an Easter egg design, and of course it was 3 years ago and children have left, and then we've had 2 lockdowns, so trying to find examples of work was quite tricky. But there is just an example of Joseph's Easter egg design, again using the drawing tools. A few years ago, I was working at another school, and although the files I can't get hold of because the account's gone, the blog is still live, which is handy. So we did some work looking at the artist Bridget Riley. So we looked at some examples of Riley's later work, and then the children just used the drawing tools, filling it in different colours to produce a piece of work along the style of Bridget Riley. And then extension to that could be using the curved shapes to see if they could do that. So another example of using the drawing tools in a different context. And lastly, this is a work in progress, an idea that I did some years ago. I just took the shapes, squares and rectangles, and said, right, there's your school. You can't move that because it's built. You can't move the car park, but anything else is fair game. And then the pupils can, if you just click on here, you can see I've used the wavy tool to put in the wildlife area, just use the simple rectangle tool to do the mugger. And then I've used this tool here to go off to the internet and just search for tree. I'm going to click on clip art because I think I'd rather have clip art than photos for this activity. And all you need to do then is drag a tree in and it will go. And there it is. And you'll notice there that j2e has very cleverly stripped out the background and made it a transparent GIF. And then I can just duplicate so I can have a little tree lined area somewhere there. Okay. So this webinar will be published to that web address fairly soon for you to watch again or signpost to colleagues. I'm just going to ask Alistair if there have been any questions whilst I've been going through this. Alistair, have there been any?
Hi, Paul. If you've got any questions, folks, please do feel free to put them on the chat. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to put them on the chat. One thing I would say is, firstly, obviously, thank you so much, Paul, for doing this, taking the time out at the end of the school day to do this with us. One of the things that it may be not so apparent to people that are watching this is that Paul has been giving you examples of students' work, actual classwork that they've been doing with j2e5. He's been linking to that just as off of a web link, but obviously as a class teacher, Paul would just go into each class file and look at each individual class's worth of pupil portfolios and see the work there. It was just for the process of quickly demonstrating today some examples of best practice.
Yeah, it was just quicker to link to it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if there are no questions, then I'd just like to say thank you for giving up your time to be here at the end of the day. Much appreciated. And I may see some of you in future webinars. They're scheduled in on that web address there. You can have details of future webinars. And thank you very much for attending, and good evening, and have a lovely time for the rest of the day. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.